I'm Kelley from Culikid. Today we're cooking with my mom.
Hi everyone.
And we're going to be making an orzo salad. We're getting ready for a barbecue and that's going to be our side today. So what ingredients do we need for the salad?
We need orzo, arugula, corn, goat cheese, cucumber, and for the dressing we need olive oil, lemon juice, scallions, and a handful of dill, and salt and pepper.
Awesome. And for our supplies, we'll need 2 pots, a juicer for the lemon, which is optional if you don't have one, a peeler, some measuring cups, and later we'll also use a cutting board and a knife, and we'll need some bowls to assemble everything in. So now we're ready to get started.
Great.
Okay, so the first thing that we always do before we start cooking is wash our hands, which we've both already done, so we're ready to move on to our first step of cooking, which is going to be preparing the orzo, followed by the corn. So a couple weeks ago, we actually did a video showing how to boil pasta, and orzo is pasta, so we're just gonna follow those steps right here. So the first thing you do is take your pot that you're gonna put the orzo in and fill it with water. So you don't need to fill it all the way. We're gonna do a cup of orzo, and so you probably only need to fill it about halfway for this size pot. So I'll go fill this now. And then we put the pot on the burner, and we're going to turn the burner up to high heat so that way the water will boil. And we are also going to add some salt. And while we're waiting for water to boil, I'm also going to measure out 1 cup of orzo. Okay, so once that our water is boiled, we'll just pour this in, and you'll need to set a timer for how long it takes to cook. So you want to check the package to figure out how long your particular pasta will take. So ours says 8 to 10 minutes. So I like our pasta to be a little bit firmer rather than chewy and tender. So we're going to go on the lower side and set our timer for 8 when that time comes. And lastly, what I forgot to mention in the beginning was we also need a colander, and this is going to be to drain our orzo. So we're going to just take this and put this in the sink, so that way it is ready to go when we are. And now we're going to move on to our corn.
I'm going to measure out a cup of corn, along with putting in some water, about 1 inch of water in the bottom of the pan, and I'll put it under a medium heat to heat up the corn.
And we're using frozen corn, so we're just cooking it according to the package instructions. But if you had fresh corn on the cob, you could use that as well, and you would just cut it off the cob first when it's raw, and then cook the kernels on the stove. Or you could actually do the opposite, where you cook the cob and then cut the kernels off.
And I'm going to turn it on to a medium flame, and I'm going to put a cup of the corn inside. And once that comes to a boil, the corn will be done. And then we'll drain it and get it ready for, and let it cool down, get it ready for the salad.
Perfect. And actually we have boiling water over here for our orzo, so we're ready to add that. Okay. And we're going to turn down the heat a little bit so it doesn't boil over, and set our timer.
The corn has been boiling for about 1 minute, so I'm going to now take it off the heat and drain the water from it in a colander.
Okay, so turn our burner off. We have a second colander in the sink as well. Since we're doing it simultaneously, you could just use one and then, take them out as you need it. You can also do the pasta and the corn in 2 different steps if you want to. If you like focusing on one thing at a time, making sure it's done, that's fine too.
Okay, the corn is well drained. Now we're going to let it cool so that we can add it to the salad.
Okay, so our timer just went off for orzo, so that's all done. You can use, if this is too heavy, you'll want to use some pot holders to grab the other side, and be really careful. Bring it over to your stove with your colander and just pour the whole thing in. Okay, and make sure we turn our burner off. And we're going to also just let this drain out and cool down as much as possible before adding to our salad. Okay, now we're ready to chop our cucumber. So I'm going to start by peeling it, although you don't have to. And I'm not going to do the whole thing. I'm going to do like 4 strips off. So you'll see, we're just going to take one all the way down. You're going to be nice and careful with how you're holding it because this is a blade, which is sharp. So you want to make sure your fingers aren't in the way. See, we turn, leave some green, and go again. Okay, if that's a little bit too hard too, you can also just do it laying down if that's a little bit more stable. So now we're done with that. And what we're gonna do to chop it is actually, I'm gonna just cut this in half. That's because we're sharing. So you get one, I get one.
She's always been very good sharing.
So we're going to cut them into little strips and then we're gonna cut those smaller as well. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're going to cut them into slices. And so we're each gonna cut as thin as you want, honestly. I like it a little bit thinner, but you can do whatever size. Try to keep them as consistent as possible so that they're the same size in the salad. Once we have our slices, then we can choose to cut them in half or we can quarter them. And you leave this little part, just toss that out. Now we're going to, I think we'll want them quartered for our salad. What do you think?
Yes, I think that's a great idea. Because the orzo is little, you make the vegetables smaller also.
Right. So you can put them into some stacks as much as you feel comfortable with, and you can quarter a few of them together at a time. And so quarter means that we're cut them into 4 pieces. So you're gonna start by cutting it in half. And then you can turn it and cut it again. And so now we have these nice little bite-sized pieces, which are gonna go really well in our salad. If you don't wanna do multiple at a time, if they seem slippery and you doesn't feel safe, then just do one at a time. It'll just take you a little bit longer. And be careful with where your fingers are holding. So you don't wanna put them here because they'll get in the way. You wanna make sure you're nice and safe. I actually think this is the first thing that's ready to go into our serving bowl, so we can actually probably put that right in there right now.
Sounds great.
This big bowl for serving. As we're ready with our ingredients, we're just going to put them in. Lovely. And we'll tidy up and then we'll get started on our dressing. Okay, so we are going to get started on chopping our herbs and scallions for our dressing. So I think we'll start with our scallions.
Yes, sounds good.
Okay, so we'll just take one.
Yes.
And what's our first step here?
I'm going to cut out about 2 inches off the top, only because they're kind of a little aged, and then turn it around and cut off the root part of the scallion also. So the top about 2 or 3 inches off, and then the root part of the scallion I should cut off. And now we're going to slice it as thin as you can, because it is going into a salad. It's going to be raw, so we're going to slice it as thin as we can. I would say 1/8 of an inch.
Yep, as thin as possible. So, and when you're cutting something long like this, you see once you get up to where your fingers are, you just want to move your fingers back a little bit. And keep moving them down so they're not in the way.
And scallions are also known as green onions, also, just to let you know that the scallion is called a green onion also.
Okay, now that we have our sliced onions, we have another bowl for our dressing, and so we can put that right in.
Okay.
Good. Okay, and now we can move on to our dill.
Okay. You can take a bunch. Kelly, you'll take a bunch. And you want to break off the dill where it meets the stem.
Right, you just want these leafy prong parts. So I'm gonna rip it here, and you can put your stem to the side to get rid of.
I love dill. I love the smell of it.
That smell good. It's great for summer salad.
Yes, so fresh, smelling and tasting.
Okay, so now we have that. So gather it as much as you can into a pile, which will make the chopping a lot easier. Okay, and now we will chop it. So you want it to be nice and fine again, so that way it's not, you don't get a big overpowering chunk of dill. And so it just, again, be careful with the hand that you're folding them with. Okay, what do you think?
I think I'm done.
Okay, now we'll put that into our bowl again. You go first. Okay, so next for our dressing, we're gonna add some olive oil. So we're actually gonna start with about a half a cup, and then half a juice from half a lemon. And we're gonna see how that tastes, and if we wanna add more of anything, we can. So I'm measuring right up to the line, and then pour in. And again, you know, we're just going by taste and feel. So if you know it's a little bit over, this is okay. Okay, and then do you wanna juice our lemon?
Yes, I do. The lemon looks white because we used the rind for another recipe, but we didn't want to waste the lemon, so we're going to utilize the juice for the salad.
Yes.
So I'm just going to cut it in half. Watch your fingers. I'm going to try to get the seeds out as much as possible. Okay.
Okay.
And this is the...
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say we have a lemon juicer, but you can just do it by hand if you wanted to, or if you didn't have this.
Just do it slowly because you don't want it spraying in your face.
Gotta use all those muscles.
Yes.
Oh yeah, there we go.
I think a seed went in there.
It was on the side. I
Yeah.
don't see it.
There it is.
There it is.
Got it. Okay, just want to make sure I get all the lemon juice, so I'll add the lemon.
And now we're gonna add some salt and pepper to taste.
Salt and pepper bring out the flavors in the food, so that's why you add salt and pepper to everything, because it enhances the flavors. I think that's good.
Okay, so now we're going to use a whisk to get it nice and combined. Now we'll do a little taste, I think.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind more lemon juice. What do you think?
I think a little bit more lemon juice sounds good.
So we're going to use the other half of our lemon and do the same thing we did before.
I'm going to take the seeds out as much as I can. These squeezers they get every bit of the juice out, so if you can get one, it works really well. Okay, I think that's good.
And what do you think? A little bit more salt too?
I think so. Maybe even a little bit more pepper also. Always go a little less than what you think because you can always add.
But you can't take away.
Yes.
Okay, and with our 2 clean spoons, we will test again.
Oh,
Yeah,
very
that's
good.
better.
Yes, it's really delicious. The lemon and the additional salt and pepper really brought out the flavors even more. Very good.
Okay, so the last thing we want to do before we assemble our salad is going to be crumble our goat cheese. And the way that we're going to do it is we're just going to put it on the side. So that way people can choose how much they want or if they want it at all. So we have a little dish here for our goat cheese. And we're just going to take off a chunk of this. This is pretty big, so maybe we'll do just about half, a little bit less. And it depends on the consistency of your goat cheese. You can use a knife or you could just use your hands and you can just crumble off pieces. So do you want to help me?
Sure. It's a very soft cheese, especially when it's out and out a little bit out of the refrigerator.
Yeah. So once we're done with this, this will go back into the fridge until we're ready to serve,
Right.
and it will harden up a little bit as well.
Oh, thanks. She's such a good sharer.
Okay.
Okay, great.
So we'll tidy up a little bit, gather all the ingredients we've already prepped, and assemble our salad.
Very excited.
Okay, so we have our bowl that everything's going into along with our orzo, corn, arugula, and our dressing. So let's put in our corn and orzo. Take the corn. And we also grabbed a big spoon to mix everything together with.
Oh, this is so, gonna be so yummy. Get all that. It's all good stuff.
Okay, and now our corn. Alright. Okay, and we'll add our arugula. So this has already been washed, so this is great. And we're gonna put in like 2 to 3 cups, depends on what you think, and we're just gonna go by feel. So this is like about 1, and here's another. What do you think? Good?
It looks great.
Okay, so now just our dressing. And give this a good stir again. You wanna make sure it all looks mixed and that it doesn't separate like that. You don't see any oil, that it looks all one consistency. So we'll scrape that in. Okay, and now let's mix it.
Oh my goodness.
And we already had our cucumbers in, remember? So we had cucumbers, orzo, corn, arugula, dressing. And you could do this with other leaves if you want to. You could do spinach or mixed greens. I think arugula is just delicious, so we're doing arugula.
Oh, you
There
smell
you
all
go.
those herbs. Oh my goodness, it smells delicious.
And you know, the orzo was kind of clumped together after it cooked, but we weren't so worried about that because you see, once you add the oily dressing, it helps separate everything. So that looks great.
Oh my goodness, it smells delicious.
Okay.
That looks pretty good. It's all mixed.
Okay, I think,
It
yeah, we're all
smells
mixed
delicious.
together. And so there you go. We have a delicious orzo salad that I think is going to be great for a summer barbecue.
Yes, I'm going to enjoy it. Thank
All right.
you.
Enjoy.
Bye.